Hello, this is Myra Elaine on the Buying Space channel. Happy Hanukkah. It is the 15th of December on the Gregorian calendar, and tonight is the first night of Hanukkah at sundown, which is 4 minutes from now. By the time I finish this video, Hanukkah will have begun. Jewish holidays run from sunset to sunup, sometimes to sundown the next day. And that 24-hour period is the first day. And then the next 24-hour period is the second day. Hanukkah runs 8 nights. Now, there are 8 candles on this, and it's the first night. So you don't leave the candles on that are not going to be lit. So I'm going to remove these because it is the first night. And Hebrew is read different than English. We start on this side of the page and read this way. Hebrews start on the right and you read to the left. So that's how you put your candles on. Now this first candle is called the Shemish, which means, I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but it means helping, supporting, giving light to others. So it's a wonderful tradition. You always use this one candle to light the other candles. So I'm going to let that sit just a moment. Oh, I put it in the Star of David candle holder. Now the candlesticks themselves, the menorahs, they're called menorahs, and they usually have branches that come up. But with modern versions, you can have, oh, there, it's taking off. You can have different stylistic types of menorahs. This is a little stylistic. Here's the Star of David that holds the Shemish candle. And we have the little cups. But in the candlestick, in the tabernacle, and the temple, there were branches that came up. But there were only 6 cups on the candlesticks in the tabernacle and the temple, with the 7th candle being representing the Sabbath. So there were lots of 7s in the tabernacle and the temple, representing the 7 days of the week and the Sabbath. So usually there's a blessing. On another night, I'll share the blessing if I can find it in English. So here we go. It's the first night of Hanukkah. Let's see if that one will take off. All right. Now, I'm going to do a typical reading that is done, or places in the Bible that mention Hanukkah in the Old Testament and the New Testament. And this video, you know, if you're Jewish, or if you're Christian, or you're a Messianic Jew, or you're just culturally curious about what the Jews do for Hanukkah, you know, this video is for you. Now, the Hanukkah started out in that in-between time, but in between the Old Testament and the New Testament, after the prophets had written their prophecies in the book of Maccabees. Now, if you're Catholic, the book of Maccabees is in your Bible. It's in the Catholic Bible. It's in the Apocrypha, in between the Old Testament and New Testament. If you're Protestant, if you're Jewish, it's in the writings after the end of all of the Jewish books, which, well, I'm not good. That's complicated how the Jews divide things up. Now, what I'm reading to you tonight is from Numbers, which is in the Torah. But what happened was the Jews were once again conquered. And this time when they were conquered by the Greco-Sumerians. And the Greco-Sumerians came in and they didn't just destroy the temple or cart the gold away. They actually made sacrifices to the Hellenistic gods in the temples for Yahweh. And they proceeded to sacrifice pigs, which is a forbidden animal, an unclean animal to the Jewish people, and a great insult. So they were outside of Jerusalem, and there was a priest named Matthias, and they wanted Matthias to sacrifice to a Greek god in his tabernacle, his temple, or his synagogue. But anyway, he said, no, thank you, I'm not doing that. So basically, the Greco-Syrians said, okay, if you don't do this, we're going to kill you. And everybody here. And Matthias said, no, thank you. So there was a gentleman in his congregation, in his flock, maybe a leader of the community, the civic part of the community. He said, I'll do it. I'll save everybody. I'll play the hero. So we all don't get killed because Matthias is too stubborn to make an offering to a Greek god. I'm paraphrasing, of course. So Matthias, being full of righteous indignation, and rightfully so, and not wanting to see an animal sacrificed to another deity in their temple or tabernacle or synagogue, took a sword and proceeded to thrust it through the gentleman that was going to sell his soul to the Greco-Romans. And this ignited the people in rebellion. And they fought, and they took over the tabernacle or the temple in Jerusalem. They retook it over. They retook over part of Jerusalem. Of course, they were fighting this whole time. And they cleaned it up. They cleaned up that pig's blood real quick. They rededicated the altar. But there was a problem. They were at war. They didn't have enough oil to keep the candles lit because they used oil. And the lamps had to be continuously burning. And it took 7 days to produce oil. And they only had 1 day. They were good for the first night as far as their oil. And they worked on making new oil so they could have that continuous light in the temple. And they prayed, and God gave them a miracle. And the oil burnt in the candlesticks for 8 nights. And that's why menorah has 8 candlesticks. And that's why we celebrate Hanukkah, because the Jewish people were saved. It was a miracle. It was a sign from God that their path was going to be lit and that everything was going to be okay. And so that's why we have 8 nights. Marty loves the movie 8 Crazy Nights with Adam Sandler. It's an animated movie that has bad dad jokes all the way through it, and it's crass and has profanity, and the main character is just disgusting human being at the beginning of the movie. But things work out. But I'm going to go ahead and read from Numbers chapter 7, which mentions Hanukkah. This is verse 1 through 8. Now it came to pass, when Moses had finished setting up the tabernacle, that he anointed it with and consecrated it and all its furnishings, and the altar and the utensils. So he anointed them and consecrated them. Then the leaders of Israel, the heads of their fathers' houses, who were leaders of the tribes, and over those were numbered, made an offering, and they brought their offering before the Lord 6 covered carts, 12 even, a cart for every 2 of the leaders, and for each of an oxen, and presented them to the tabernacle. This is the very first tabernacle that Moses, through the instructions of God and Aaron and the tribes of Israel, built in the desert. Then the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Accept these from them that may be used in doing the work of the tabernacle of meeting, that ye shall give them to the Levites, and every man according to his service. So Moses took the carts and the oxen and gave them to the Levites. 2 carts and 4 oxen he gave to the son of Gershon according to their service, and 4 carts and 8 oxen he gave to the sons of Merari according to the service under the authority of Ishmar the son of Aaron the priest. But to the sons of Kohath he gave none, because theirs was a service of holy things which they carried on their shoulders. So this is the very first tabernacle. And then later they had other tabernacles and they had other temples. But for the 40 years that they were traveling in the desert to the promised land, they had a tabernacle. Now, Jesus was a Jew. I hope that's not a surprise to anybody. And he was born in the events of the New Testament, right? The first 4 books of the Bible, or the New Testament, are about the life of Jesus. And so all the events in the Old Testament, all the words of the prophet, all the words of King David and King Solomon, all those words Jesus knew. All those Pharisees and Sadducees in the temple against Jesus, they all knew. The disciples knew. And they also knew the history. And he also celebrated all the Jewish festivals. And most of the Jewish festivals are in Leviticus 23. But these were historical events that happened, like I said before, between the Old Testament and New Testament. But they happened, these battles with the Greco-Assyrians and these rises and falls of Israel happened before Jesus was born. So Jesus celebrated Hanukkah. And that's a very good reason for Messianic Jews and Christians, other Christians, to celebrate. So in John chapter 10, verses 22 to 30, we read about Jesus and Hanukkah. Now, it was the Feast of Dedication in Jerusalem. That's Hanukkah, because when they took back the temple, they cleaned the temple and rededicated it. It was winter, and Jesus walked to the temple in Solomon's porch. Now, Solomon's porch at the temple, it was Herod's temple at the time. There was a right area that was covered that they called the porch. Then the Jews surrounded him and said to him, How long do you keep us in doubt? If you are Christ, tell us plainly. Jesus answered them, I told you, and you will not believe. And the works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness of me, but you do not believe. Because you are not of my sheep, as I said to you, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And I give them eternal life, and they shall never perish, neither shall anyone snatch them out of my hand. My Father has given them unto me, is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of my Father's hand. And I and my Father are one. So here Jesus again tells them, Ye of little faith. I've told you. I've shown you miracles. I mean, if I would have been Jesus at this point, I might have said something sarcastic like, what do you want me to do? Stand on my head and wiggle my ears? I mean, what else? I mean, at this point, well, I don't know where we are in the narrative of the gospel, but he's performed miracles to this point. I don't know how many miracles before the narrative here in John 10 that he had performed miracles, how many, but how many would you need? One leper cured, you would know. Now, during the times that the Jews were under the Greco-Sumerian Empire, there's a legend that about the dreidel game. And these are dreidels. I have a whole bag of dreidels here. I'm going to pour them all out. How many dreidels do you need? Well, if you're having a dreidel game, I guess one dreidel per person would be good. And what you do is you take a cup. Now, this cup is a creamer from a Star of David glass set, and I got this out specifically for Hanukkah. And you put 4 things in this. You can put coins, or you can put gelt, which is the chocolate coins covered with gold foil that look like coins, but they're chocolate. Or you can put nuts or dates or raisins or whatever. And each player has 4 items. Let's just say they have 4 chocolate coins. And they put 4 chocolate coins down in the cup. And everybody has originally 4 coins to start with. So you got 1 coin in the cup and you got 3 coins in the kitty. I don't know if they call it a kitty though. And then you take the dreidel, whether you're sharing one or passing one around or you have one of your own, and you spin it. Okay, and it lands on none. So none means none. N-U-N means in dreidel language, you do not get anything. Now, the letter none is a Hebrew letter, and I'll try to, if I remember, link the letter none from my readings from Psalms 119 in the descriptions. It'll give you more information about the real meanings of the word none. But in the dreidel game, if you land on none, you get none. Okay? If you land on shin, that means you have to take another one of your coins and put it in the kitty. Okay? If you land on hey, you get to take half. And I'm assuming if they're 5, you take 2. But maybe you take 3. Maybe those are different in different families. I don't know. But if you land on Gimel, then you get to take all of it. So now, let's just say that you've put in 2 coins originally, and you put in the third, and everybody else has put in 1 each. So there's 5 coins you're getting back, and you had 2 coins. Now you got 7 coins, and the game ends when one person ends up with all the coins or chocolates or raisins or dates or whatever you've put in the cup. That's when the game ends. Now, in Greco-Syrian time, the Greeks would not allow the Jews to study the Torah. So they would get together and they would play dreidel. This is the legend. There's no proof of this. But in all the history of all the times the Jews have been oppressed, there has to be one Jewish household that did this, if not a whole village. So I'm going to put all the dreidels in the cup and put the cup over here. And I'm going to put the card that has the rules on it over here. Woo! That's hot. Got to be careful. This is a real flame. Now, tomorrow I'll show you how I light the second candle, and I will try to find the blessing, and I will read more passages that mention Hanukkah in the Old Testament, and I'll read more New Testament verses. But I'll mainly be reading what Jewish households read during Hanukkah, because it's not mentioned that much or alluded to that much in the New Testament. I might have to get out my Intertestament, my Catholic Bible, and read from the Maccabees. I did that last year. If I end up not reading some of the passages I read last year, this year, I'll try to provide a post with links for my prior readings, explaining the events, the historical events of the Greco-Syrian takeover of Israel and Jerusalem. So you'll get more of the history. I don't like to say the same things year after year after year. So last year, I just put the menorah in the background, and I didn't light the candles. So I wanted to light the candles this year and have all this beautiful glass behind it that has the Star of David on it. Here's actually a picture back here, a Star of David picture. It's nice. It's pink, but it's got the starburst on the bottom, and I just love this pattern. Look at this beautiful handle. But I love my glass. I think you all know that by now. But I'll talk to you tomorrow more about Hanukkah. I'll light the second candle, and I'll tell you more of the significance of this wonderful Jewish celebration that Christ himself celebrated.